A huge Fall Guys update is about to release to add a ton of stuff to creative mode. It might even just be a few days away. It's been officially announced, so let's dive into that info and then some of the extra leaks. So in classic Fall Guys fashion, this update was announced in the dumbest way possible. We've got an update coming out soon with 4 main W's: Draggy Waggies, Holdy Waldies, Bouncy Wouncies, Qualifying Percenty Wenties. It's apparently called the Whoop Date, and they'll leak more info soon. You're probably wondering what the heck you just heard, so let me translate this. I was live streaming when this was announced, so I discussed with my chat what these could be, and we've got some pretty solid guesses. Draggy Waggies could be removable boxes from Wall Guys and Hoopsie Legends where you push them around and whatever. If this is the case, it also means there's a good chance of us getting Legacy Season 2's medieval theme added to creative with this update. The other possibility is that this is referring to the line that you drag to create moving bumpers, just like how the end of Hit Parade is. If you look in the original creative trailer from over a year ago, you can look closely and see just that. So either of those are possible or both. Next is Holdy Waldies, which has a lot more possibilities. Most obvious one is holdable objects like eggs, basketballs, that kind of thing, but that seems a bit strange since there's no sort of hunt or team rounds that these would apply to. Still might be cool to have those objects to mess around with though. Option 2 is Bert the Penguin, because who doesn't love him? He's all over the creative key art and splash screens, along with eggs actually, and of course you can hold him and carry him to the finish line whenever he appears, which you should always do. Holdy Waldies could also be blast balls, which is another holdable object. However, it does seem a bit early for them to add SS1 stuff, so don't get your hopes too high for that. Tails are another possibility, but as I discussed with other holdable stuff, what's the point unless you can actually make a tail tag style hunt level? Okay, final one for this is a crown grab mode, which would be very exciting, and I actually think is the most likely. I'm sure you're very familiar with Fall Mountain and Lost Temple. They're just race finals where instead of a finish line you have to cross. It's the first one to grab the crown that wins, so not super difficult for them to implement in the game, and this would also tie in nicely with the qualifying percenty wenties. That is very self-explanatory. You can choose what percentage of players will qualify from your creative level, so it'd just be 1% for a final basically, and a crown grab mode would have this as a default. But I missed one, Bouncy Wouncies, and that's because I'm not too sure what this could be. The most logical thing that me and my chat could come up with is the weird rounded bouncy thing in the middle of Hoopsie Legends, which is a very oddly specific and strange thing to hype up, but if it is added, it gives extra weight to the potential of the medieval theme being added, as it's something from Hoopsie Legends. I'm sure other levels use it too, but that's the only one I can think of. There's also the bounty floors in Bounce Party. Remember that map being in the game for less than 3 months that has now been gone for over 9? Well, whatever. As I also said for Blast Balls, I don't think we're getting SS1 stuff yet. We're still very early on in the existence of creative. Comment below if you have any other ideas of what Bouncy Wouncies could be. I'd love any theories. There's plenty of leaks about extra stuff this update could potentially have, but first I think discussing the release date is very important. Fall Guys has quite simply said they'll leak more info soon, and if you've kept up with the game long enough, you know soon can mean anything from 5 minutes to like 3 years or never at all. But thanks to FG Muffins, we can pinpoint that the update is probably around the 28th or 29th of June, though it's possible to be basically at any point in that week. From all the info we have, Wednesday the 28th of June seems most likely to me. That's when the Free For All anniversary event ends. This week's creative shows were extended by a day to also end on Wednesday, and doing an update while the SS1 anniversary event is still running would possibly just break it. Plus, Mediatonic and Epic Games' 2-week summer break will start on the 3rd of July until the 14th. Since Mediatonic doesn't work on weekends, this essentially means the update has to be before the 1st of July, since they'll be gone until the 17th of July by then. They're also teasing the update, so no way they wait that long. You get the point. The update is at some point in that week, 28th of June being the most likely day. When they do updates, it's usually 10 AM UK time, if that also matters to you. Right, but what else could the update contain? I said there were plenty of leaks, and there are. Once again, huge shout outs to FG Muffins. She's leaked so much info about this and deserves the credit. So there's a new codename for Fame Pass 3 of SS4, which is Nighthawk. Codenames don't tell you much about the collab, obviously they're codenames, but this will be in Fame Pass 3, and Fall Guys is purposefully hiding it, though it is very likely going to be in the next update and get leaked early. It's also possible they actually add Fame Pass 3 to the files, in which case the whole thing will get leaked, but they could wait until last minute to add it too. Since their break starts the week after this update, we can expect them to add the next couple weeks of shops, creative shows and all that, so it'll get leaked with the update. This also applies if there's any events, but since we saw the end of Fame Pass 1, we might already be able to predict that Crown Shard Scramble will return from around the 8th of July until the 18th, and Double Fame will be activated from around the 11th of July, also until the 18th, which is when Fame Pass 3 will start. Now, there was plenty of leaks and expectations of the survival mode coming to Fall Guys Creative with an update, but we have the information that it probably won't. All the Mediatonic made official creative maps have been races so far, and that's continuing throughout the season. When they release the survival mode, they'll probably want to have a bunch of maps they've made to show it off, and we already got 60 Mediatonic maps out of the over 50 for this season that we were promised, so it's seeming more likely that the survival mode will be for the release of SS5, which is still a couple months away. Plus, the official teasers we mentioned earlier for this update, there was nothing about survival in there, though there could still be crown grab as that's a less significant mode, although still will be very cool to mess around with. Leave a like if you agree, though the medieval theme is not off the table by any means. My theories for the official teaser definitely imply the medieval theme is coming, and Muffins agrees, also mentioning the mode is basically finished in the game files already, and there's so many obstacles finished for it. I won't bother mentioning all those obstacles in this video because most of the leaked obstacles from 5 months ago are still not in the game. I'm not fully trusting obstacle leaks at this point. Now, that's the stuff that is quite likely for this update, but there's also some other stuff Fall Guys is working on that could be in the update, although much less likely. So disclaimer here, don't be mad at me or anyone if this stuff doesn't happen, or even if the stuff I mentioned earlier doesn't happen. We're just theorizing and looking at leaks here. We don't know for sure until Mediatonic confirms stuff. So a life system has been leaked along with a firewall obstacle, outrun the firewall level, and a virus scanner obstacle. When you get caught by the firewall, you lose a life. Think of it like any game that has a HP system, where you're fine until you run out and you get eliminated. This is very clearly themed around SS4's digital/retro theme, and wouldn't make much sense to be delayed to another season, so if it's not in this update, it might be in another one next month or something. There's also the SpongeBob level you might have heard about, codenamed Turkey, where you have to prepare burgers that the game tells you to. You earn coins for doing it, and it's probably like a hunt round where you earn a certain amount of coins in order to qualify. There's buttons to spawn ingredients, there's appliances that you put ingredients onto, then once you're done you put stuff into the delivering box and hit a button once you finish all that. This will be the second ever collab map in Fall Guys, first one being Bean Hill Zone, added in an SS1 event, added to core shows for a few hours in SS2 before being removed because it was broken, then finally being added properly in SS3, then being vaulted in SS4. Hopefully this SpongeBob map doesn't have it as rough. Huge credit to Kota69TH and FG Pancake for the video of the level you just saw. That was a huge leak, now for a tiny one. Again, all the stuff in this section of the video isn't guaranteed for this particular update, but they are also working on the ability to change the music that plays in your creative level. Currently, it picks a random song from Legacy Season 1 or SS4, but this will be really cool if you can choose any song at all from any season, even stuff like Falloween from Treat Thieves, even for a medieval themed map or whatever. Small thing to most people, but I am actually super excited for this. Subscribe if you're excited for any of this really, because I'm making plenty of content as we get more info about updates and all things Fall Guys. Want these new free costumes? Want to see me play your Fall Guys maps? Want a third video? Cool, thanks for watching, bye.